What's up, climbers? Week 3 of the meetings module, the one-on-one meeting. Get rid of us versus them and get a better pulse on your people. So, story time. I want you to think back to a time, this may or may not have happened to you, but it's certainly happened to me in the past, of somebody leaving your practice unexpectedly. So, for me, it was a PT that, wow, this is probably almost 10 years ago. And he pulled me in the back room and he said, "Hey, Travis, I took a job at the hospital." And it just completely blew me away. Like, he seemed happy at work and things seemed to be going well. And I was completely surprised because I was not checking in with him to see how he was doing. I wasn't doing regular one-on-one meetings, which, spoiler alert, I'm going to teach you guys the importance of doing that. But basically, I just wasn't checking in with him to see how things were going. I was going more of like the annual review type system, which again, we're going to talk about in here about how you're never going to do those again. But I just wasn't doing one-on-ones with him to check in. And then you'll get surprised by a change in someone's employment on your team. So um, in the long run, he went and worked for the hospital for about 9 months and then came and begged for his job back. And now he's my most senior therapist. So it had a happy ending, but that kind of bothered me. And so I looked into reasons why that might have happened. And really what I settled on was these one-on-one meetings. So and I'll bring it kind of closer to today. This is fairly recently, a PT aide. So it's an aide at our practice, runs the front desk, does half admin, half on the floor. And it took her 3 months to finally decide to take a restaurant management job that she was offered for 2.5 times her current salary, because we try to convince her to take it. So she had such a hard time leaving our organization because of the relationship that we built with her. And a lot of that had to do with one-on-one meetings. So objectives for week 3, we're going to understand the importance and purpose of one-on-ones. We're going to eliminate an annual review, and we're going to schedule our first one-on-one meeting with your direct reports. That's all going to happen this week. So I hope you're as excited about that as I am. So how did I learn this stuff? Manager Tools podcast and their app is amazing. I strongly suggest you listen to some of that. It's extensive. They have hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, but their podcasts on one-on-one meetings are really powerful. This book here, it's The Manager. So that's one of, in terms of like middle management, which is I'm doing some training with right now. That's the most important people in your organization. So getting the people that have other teammates directly reporting to them. For us, that's really our clinical directors. And on our admin side, we have someone that's kind of similar to a clinical director. But if you've not read this book, it's really important. It's The Manager. And anything Peter Drucker, the effective executive, um, is where you should start. But this is kind of where I learned the importance of these one-on-one meetings. What's the most common theme amongst great managers? So really, that's what you're trying to train. I mean, you have people directly reporting to you, depending on the size of your organization. In my organization, there's very few, a small percentage of people that directly report to me. Everybody else kind of directly reports to their managers, the middle management. So what is the most common thing where we would say, hey, this is a really good manager? Most people would say, and I thought before I did the research on it, is your drive, your intelligence, your industry knowledge. Those are all things that come to mind when we think about, yeah, this person should be managing in my organization. But really the correct answer is great professional relationships with their direct reports. That's what makes a great manager. And you can't do that without one-on-one meetings. So why take the time to do these? And it's really results in retention. So we talked about the retention stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more about the results. So it's impossible to get a true pulse in your business without these things. You have to set out time in your schedule so you know what's going on in your organization. It's an additional line of communication. So it's built in a way to foster better communication so you don't forget to do it. So for me, and if you've heard me, this is the third module that you've heard me on, hopefully you're hearing a theme where I just have to build in constant reminders to do stuff because my brain doesn't work as well as I want it to. So it's just kind of like this natural thing. If I put it in my calendar and I do it, I have a one-on-one with my direct reports every month. If I'm getting busy with personal professional stuff, it's just that automatic thing that's in my calendar that I have a check-in with the most important people in my organization. It builds trust. So as we go through this, hopefully you'll see that this tool is a really powerful trust building tool. It keeps your team focused on their rock for the year and the quarter, which is something you're going to continually have to do. And it pulls out issues that might not come up in a group meeting. So this is another thing I haven't talked about yet, where some people, no matter how much trust you build in your leadership team and in your other kind of teams in your organization, some people just don't feel comfortable bringing things out. And it might be something more personal than professional, actually. But the one-on-one is a great opportunity for them to do that. Let's go to building trust. If you want to build trust with someone, you have to have a relationship with them. So how do you build a relationship with somebody? It's really the quality and the quantity of communication. So it's both. People instinctively measure both of these variables to define their relationship. So think about it. The people that you have relationships with, let's take outside of your organization, maybe friends, family members, the people that you spend the most time with in terms of volume and the most quality time with, those are the people that you have the best relationships with. Hey, you must talk about these things, talk about things important to them. So we're going to go through the template and that will kind of make sense. But it's really the one-on-one is about them. It's not so much about you. It's a little bit about you, 90% about them. And be interested, not interesting. I've said this before, but the same thing when building a relationship with a patient that you're treating. You have to kind of make it all about them. Same thing with the one-on-one. Alternatives to one-on-one is the annual review. So it's the opposite of real-time feedback, which is what millennials want. So we talked about this before. Most of you people are employing millennials. This is what they want. They want real-time feedback, good or bad, on how they're doing. They need that constant kind of feedback on what's going on. So this was, I mean, I remember back when I had jobs in the early 2000s, before I opened up my own practice, and there was never any one-on-ones, and they did like this annual review, and I would do an annual review, and although I never stayed anywhere for a year, but they would do some kind of review. Actually, there's one time that I kind of requested something. Hey, can I have a meeting with you guys and just kind of see how I'm doing? I think it was like 6 months into my job, and um, they said, well, yeah, you were screwing this stuff up when you first started doing the job, but you're not doing that anymore. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that when I was screwing it up? So these monthly meetings are a chance to kind of check in and make sure if there are things that are going on. Again, it's a built-in kind of trigger for, hey, there's some things we're seeing that we want you to work on, instead of waiting for the annual review and say, yeah, it's not going so well. You did something back in January. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so this is in the hope of not getting so many notices, and just kind of building that relationship. Objection handling. Okay, so here's what I'm going to hear from you guys, right? So my calendar is too full. So a lot of people watch this. Maybe they're treating full time. My calendar is too full. I got treatment on the schedule. I've got other meetings I've got to do. How am I going to schedule an additional 8 half-hour meetings in the month? So now that's provided you have 8 direct reports. Maybe you don't have that, maybe you have less, but even if it's, 4 or 2, sometimes finding time to do that is going to be difficult. So here's what I'm going to challenge you on. So look at your calendar 4 weeks from now. Okay. Is it full? It's probably not. So as I have my calendar in front of me right here, even my calendar is not full 4 weeks from now. There's space for things to fill in. That calendar is just going to fill up with other less important things to do. And one-on-one meetings are more important. It's the key to having success in your organization. So you can do this, I promise you, because if you look a month out from now, we're not going to set these up next week. If you look a month out from now, you're going to have space in your schedule. So here's how you do it. So you send out an email to your direct reports. You give them 1.5 times the slots you need to schedule all of those meetings. So let's say you have 6 direct reports. You would send out an email to those 6 people, and there would be 9 slots available that they can pick from. So they need to select that. Some people, they're busy too, right? So they're gonna maybe they won't have the time to do it right there. If you don't hear back from them, you just put it in their treatment schedule. So the people that I'm talking to right now are typically practice owners, and they're typically doing one-on-one reports with PTs. So guess what? They have slots in their schedule, and you can just plug in slots in your schedule to make sure that happens. Admin's even easier. So if you're doing one-on-one reports with maybe whoever's running your finance or whoever's running your billing, make sure that you get those scheduled in, and those are going to be easier because they're not kind of jammed up with treatment schedules. So this is doable. I promise you. Our clients in our elite inner circle have been able to do this, so you guys can do it too. Final sales pitch on one-on-ones. One-on-one meetings are the single most teachable and measurable way to get high performance out of your team. So if you want your team to perform better, this is the key to doing it. So hopefully after hearing that, you've finally bought in. So the structure of the one-on-one, let's go through what it actually looks like. 30-minute meeting. 10 minutes for you, 10 minutes for me, 10 minutes for us. Okay. So we're going to go over the template, but that's kind of basically what it is. And for me, it's kind of in terms of the person running the one-on-one, it's more like 1 or 2 minutes. It's just kind of my check-in, which you'll see. So it's actually a lot less for the person that's doing the one-on-one. But that part is important. In order to build a relationship, they've got to know what's going on with you too. So there's two sides to this equation. It's mostly focused on them, but in order to build a relationship, they have to know what's going on with you as well. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go through and take a look at the template. So some people, they don't have a structure for it. I've seen practice owners do a one-on-one where they just kind of, you know, talk about, just normal stuff. But here's the structure that I want you guys to follow that I think is going to be important. So this is the template. And you guys have access to this. You're going to make a copy of it, and template's all done. You just have to plug in a few things, and it'll be ready to go. But basically, it has all the information up at the top. And as you're going down here, so the Zoom link. So if you have to do a Zoom call, if at all possible, do it face to face across the table from somebody. Okay. What's the first two things? What's going on with you? What's going on with me? So this is kind of your segue, like we've talked about in the leadership team meeting. Personal, professional. This is just kind of trying to keep it to personal stuff, like what's going on with you. Oh, we moved into a new house, or, oh, my wife is 6 months pregnant. We're getting ready for the baby. Something like that, something personal that's going on. You go over what's going on with me. So that would be you directing the meeting. And then you just go through your scorecard. So you've had scorecard training. So this should be, Robbie did an amazing job kind of going through that, but we've gone through a scorecard. So if let's say this is a staff PT, right? And you're doing a one-on-one, what are the metrics that you're holding them accountable to? All right. So what is let's say it's their arrival rate that you're looking at. So you look at arrival rate here. What's their year-to-date arrival rate? What was it in the last 30 days at the last meeting, which would have been 30 days before that, 2 meetings ago. So 60 days before that, what was their arrival rate? What's the trend on that? So when you first start this, obviously you're not going to have any data. I mean, you're going to have the last 30 days, and you can have year-to-date, but you haven't met with them to kind of improve on this. And then we have, we red, yellow, green these metrics. So for us, metrics that are in green. So let's say 3 of these are in green. So let's be optimistic here. So for the first 3 metrics that are in green, which ones are in green, and what can you do that we can share with the team? So why are you in green? So we have one clinic that always crushes arrival rate, and we're always constantly looking at them and saying, what is going on in this clinic that you guys are doing such an amazing job with arrival rate, and our other clinics are not kind of up to that standard. So that would be an example of something you can go over them. Anything in yellow or red, we need a next action for them. So it's like, here's the metrics that's in yellow or red. Okay, what is the next action, absolute next action that you're going to do that is going to improve this when we meet in 30 days? It's out of yellow or red. So that should make some sense. But basically, it's just kind of looking at, this is performance, right? So you're grading them using a scorecard. So you want to make sure that their performance is improving and learning from good performance. If they're doing something good, why is that good? Their rock. So I've only got one here. Most people in your organization are only going to have one rock. So that's their goal for the quarter. So you're going to put that there as an on or off track. And if you're stuck, how can I help? And then issues. So this is, again, with our leadership team meeting, issues is the parking lot for where you put issues that are going on in the practice. This is just issues more with that individual. So what is going on with them individually, a place they can park. Hey, I want to talk to Travis about this at our next one-on-one. This is where I park that information. And then to-dos. So after we identify, discuss, and solve the issue, there's going to be to-dos associated with that. 30-day to-dos, different than your leadership team meeting, which is a 7-day to-do. So these can be maybe a little bit bigger projects. So these issues are typically going to revolve around some kind of metric issue that's going on up here. That's where you want to keep the focus on. If you're holding them accountable to metrics and you're incentivizing or rewarding or recognizing them for positive metrics, then you want to make sure that your to-do items, your issues are kind of surrounding that so that you fix that. And that's it. And then this is the template. You guys make a new sheet every time you do it. And then you have at the bottom here, you have different tabs for all of the one-on-ones for them as long as you're doing one-on-ones and as long as they're in the organization. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's go back here, and I'm going to show you this Gallup poll. So this is actually the same people that made that book, It's the Manager. So they really study workplace and company culture and effectiveness in the workplace. So you're going to see a ton of stuff from them. But this is a really simple questionnaire that you can give. Let's say you've never done one-on-ones. You're like, "Nah, I don't even know what to talk about. I don't really use scorecards or metrics that much." It's fine. All you need is this. Just this will start your one-on-one and get you going on it. So this is basically a customer satisfaction survey for someone that works for you. This works in any division. So you can give this to a PT, you can give this to front desk, you can give it to your billing manager, whatever. And they're just questions about how they feel about work. And then this gives you like you could have when I do this, I run out of time. So I could have a 2-hour meeting about all the things that are going on and the responses here, whether they strongly agree or strongly disagree. So this is going to be really helpful if you've never done one-on-ones before and you want to start that and you're kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work out. Then I encourage you to use that, which is also you guys have access to it. You just make a copy of it and then get going on that. So hopefully all that makes sense. Let's go through a summary. The goal of the one-on-one is to build a relationship with your direct reports. We've said that before, but this is a good reminder. Get the annual review out of your organization for good. Annual reviews are the dumbest thing going. I can't see correcting people on a yearly basis. You need a more frequent version of evaluation. Remember the structure. So 10, 10, 10. So 10 minutes for you, 10 minutes for me, 10 minutes for us in the future. That's kind of what we're looking for. And then if you're stuck, just kind of use that Gallup poll like we just talked about. So putting the one-on-one in practice. So here's your homework. You're going to create a template. So the template's there. You just make a copy of it. You can tweak it a little bit. Again, I suggest you keep it as close to what I've given you as possible, but you can tweak it a little bit to make it work for you. As long as it's a half-hour meeting where you're building a relationship with your one-on-one with your direct report, then I'm okay with it. You're going to send out that email. It's like, hey guys, we're doing one-on-one meetings. We're going to do them every month. So here's the slots that I have for next month. Make sure you fill in your time. Give them a week to kind of look at it. And this is going to be like a month out, right? So because asking them to do it next week, probably not going to be reasonable, but you do it a month out, give them slots. And then if they don't do it inside of the week, then you just plug it into their schedule. Schedule the one-on-ones with direct reports so you get them in your schedule and post your wins to Facebook. So when you do this, it's a big deal. So make sure you do that. Hey, I had 4 direct reports, got them all scheduled for next month. Throw that in the Facebook group because that helps us know that you're actually doing this stuff and it encourages other people to get the work done as well. So next week's going to be the last week for our meetings module, and it's going to be the quarterly offsite. So it's a 1-day offsite meeting for your leadership team every quarter that gets you refocused on your annual goals and your 10-year mission. So excited to show you guys that. Make sure you're doing the homework. Guys, you're doing a great job of engaging in the group. Make sure you get this stuff done. You've got to kind of keep pushing. I know, this is a lot of stuff that we're having you implement into your practice, but I promise you, if you do all of the things that are in this program, your practice will look completely different in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years from now than it does now. So good luck with that. If you have any questions about anything, make sure you're jumping in the Facebook group to ask us. And as always, we'll see you guys